Spoilers in 3, 2, 1. So the first comment I'm going to look at is one that says, "Stopped taking you seriously at 6:20. Honestly, if you just stopped taking me seriously full stop, I would completely accept that as well. That creative choice was the entire heart of the second game and had to happen. It was a gut punch that fueled the entire narrative." Yes. I can't really argue with that. That is exactly what that was. The death of Joel, yes, was the entire point of the second game. And that's kind of the point, really. That's the thing I was trying to bring up without bringing up, because, I was trying not to be spoilerific in the first video. The death of Joel is very, very important, because it fuels the entire narrative, and therefore the circumstances surrounding it have to be rock solid. But they're not. There are two aspects to the death of Joel that cause a lot of problems: coincidence and character choices. The coincidences I'm not so worried about, because honestly, coincidences happen in real life and are often the spark that lights the fire of a story, to be slightly poetic. In this case, yes, there are a lot of coincidences. Joel happening to be on patrol at the same time that Abby turns up to try and find him. Abby goes off on her own at the same time that Joel is on patrol. A zombie horde decides to turn up. Or no, Abby bumps into it. No, I can't remember. I have to go through that again at some point. At any rate, Abby and a zombie horde meet up, and that's another coincidence, because that coincidence facilitates Joel not being able to have like a proper interaction with this newcomer. And instead of them bumping into each other and Joel being like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" They don't have time for that. But then that would then just adds into the coincidence of Joel and Abby meeting up. So, of all the places that they could have both been there at the same time and just missed each other. There's quite a lot of ground to cover. It's not exactly quite a visible environment, but yeah. So there's at least 4 layers of coincidence going on there, which then gets worse when Joel is trying to save Abby, because yeah. But then because of the blizzard, which has turned up as well, and because of the zombie horde, which has turned up, Joel decides they can't go back to town. So you've got about 5 layers of coincidence going on there. But again, that's not a problem to me, because coincidences happen in real life. Anyone know how the First World War started? For those that don't know, the Archduke Franz Ferdinand was on a visit to Sarajevo. Driving on the road, loads of people celebrating, and then there were a bunch of assassins who were supposed to kill him. Most of them didn't even try. One of them did, and threw a bomb, and it missed Franz Ferdinand completely, but injured a couple of people. The Archduke made it to where he was going, and then decided he wanted to go to the hospital to see the injured people. So this is already an unplanned destination. They then decide they're going to take a specific route to the hospital, but then there was confusion and people didn't tell the right people to do the right things, and they ended up going down a side street which they weren't planning to go down. All of which is massively coincidental, because one of the assassins decided to hang around, and he was down this side street when the Archduke drove down it. Worse, when they went down this side street, the car stalled right in front of the assassin. So yeah, massive coincidences, like multiplying coincidences, happen in real life. So I'm not so fussed about them happening in a written narrative. obviously try to avoid such things because people don't like them, because you want cause and effect going on, not just, oh, and then this happened. But they do happen, so I'm not too fussed about them. What's more important are the character choices made in these coincidences. In the case of the assassin of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, he was, again, he was just standing by the side of the street down a side road when the Archduke's car stalled in front of him. He decided to then basically jump into the car and shoot the Duke point blank. He didn't have to do that. He could have done it from the side of the road. He had a gun. They're quite good at range, I hear. But instead he decided to get in the car and jam the gun in the Duke's face, essentially. That is a character choice on his part, because all the other assassins failed. They either just didn't at all, or they failed. So he would have been aware of that, and probably wouldn't have wanted to fail himself. So he made damn sure that he succeeded and got in that car. He got captured for it, because again, if you're in the car, everyone can see who you are, you're in there, but he achieved his goal. So that's a character choice that makes sense. With Joel, you then get some character choices of his own, which caused the majority of the problems for fans of the original game. He saves Abby from zombies. Fine. That makes absolute sense. He then decides, oh, he can't go back to town, there's too many zombies, too much of a snowstorm. I put that down under the coincidence thing, but it's also sort of a character choice. Which also, you know, that might be understandable. I'll say that's understandable. But then the random stranger he's just met says, my mates are just over there, we can meet up with them. And Joel decides, yeah, that's a great idea. What? No? If anything, Joel would be like, I've patrolled here loads of times, I know the area, I'm going to decide where we're going to go. And then he would go to some place that he knew to be relatively safe, where they could just hunker down and then he could interrogate this random newcomer that he's not seen before. That makes far more sense. But in this story, Joel just decided, yeah, sure, let's go meet a bunch of random strangers in a random location. But then it gets worse. Just like the coincidences just build up until you have a coincidence on a double coincidence on a triple coincidence on a tesseract of coincidences. So too you have a tesseract of bad character choices, or character choices that don't make sense. Because then once Joel gets to this random location where a bunch of random people are waiting for him, you'd imagine Joel from the games would be quite antsy, wouldn't you? You'd think he'd go in there with his gun drawn, you know, gun in hand, not necessarily like pointing at everybody, just like in hand. And you'd imagine he wouldn't walk into the middle of the room where all these random strangers are standing around. You'd imagine he'd stay away, like maybe next to the door he literally just walked through. You know, like people do in real life when they haven't met a group of people before. They walk into the room, maybe they stand next to like their friend or whoever's brought them to the room. They don't walk into the middle of the room and be like, hey, it's me, I've never met any of you before, how you doing? Generally speaking, you stand back and then wait to be introduced or something like that. Now imagine that you're in an apocalypse where people are trying to kill you all the time. I imagine you would want to stay back. Stay next to the door. Stay next to somewhere you can run away quickly. Have your gun in hand in case these people aren't friendly. You can shoot and back away out the room. All sorts of survival instincts that we know Joel to have from the previous game. Hell, the TV show shows that. And the Joel in the TV show is significantly different, as I will get into at some point. But in the game, Joel walks into the room, no weapon in hand, stands in the middle of the room surrounded by a bunch of randoms, and then just allows his brother to say, "Oh yeah, hi, how's it going? Well, our settlement's just down that way. I'm Tommy, and that's Joel, by the way." That wouldn't happen. But it did. And that's the problem. This is the paper mache rock I was talking about. The more holes you can poke into the story, the worse it gets for people who are fans of the story, fans of the characters. Because suddenly their character is doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And then you have to question whether this is the same character or not. And then you have to question whether there's a point to following the story. The next comment reads, "I think catching yourself cheering for good people to die is an essential part of understanding the message of the second game, and hopefully the second and third season of the show. I hope they stick right with it." This is also true. A lot of The Last of Us Part 2 is all about revenge, like the continuing cycle of revenge. Joel killed the doctor because the doctor was about to kill Ellie. The doctor wasn't doing it for any revenge purposes. He was trying to do it to create a vaccine. I won't go into any of the additional context that I've seen from other people's videos about this, because that's just a whole thing that could go on for ages. It will be interesting to see what they do with the show with it. But anyway, the doctor's trying to kill Ellie to save the world, theoretically. Joel kills him because don't kill Ellie. Abby now wants to kill Joel. But then because Abby kills Joel, Ellie wants to kill Abby. And then theoretically, if that had continued, Ellie kills Abby. Then, I can't remember the kid's name. Lev? It was Lev, wasn't it? Lev will then maybe want to take revenge on Ellie for the death of Abby. And then who knows where it could go from there. And then the game's point is, well, Ellie decides to not kill Abby and let her go, thereby breaking the cycle of revenge. And it then shows all of these negative consequences for Ellie for having chosen to go and get revenge. And it kind of does the same for Tommy. It's basically showing that he's physically worse off for having trying to go get revenge. Even though a lot of the stuff that happens to him in part 2 of the game is massively contrived. The fact that people pointed out the fact that when he's having the fight with Abby and he seems to be winning, I can't remember, then that I think she's the mum of Lev, a character on Abby's side just teleports into the scene, and you're like, how the hell did you get there? But she's purely there just to overbalance the odds, and so Tommy can be defeated and Abby can survive. That's the entire point of that scene, and that keeps happening, which kind of breaks the point of the story. What also breaks the point, this sort of narrative purpose of, look, for revenge for that type thing, is having Joel get killed right at the start, which upsets everybody. To the point, then you start watching people playing the game, and it's like, yeah, all the people playing the game at this point want Abby to die, which is meant to be part of the story and all that sort of thing. When then lots of people get angry at the fact that Ellie doesn't kill Abby, which again is all meant to be part of the story. But it was so badly presented. It was so badly presented because of everything I've just gone over with the coincidences and the character choices. You rack all those up and then present the death of Joel and then say, oh no, it's all part of a narrative tale about revenge and all this sort of thing. And it's just going to leave a sour taste in people's mouths because they didn't do it properly. Worse, because they put the death of Joel at the start of the game, and then tried to add context to the lead up to his death in flashbacks, it just made people think that the people making the game were trying to justify this choice, rather than set up the choice. I can understand why they did that, because a lot of these scenes were just cinematics. And in a computer game where you want stuff to be happening so the player can, interact with the game, I can't really imagine a game starting with literally just a 1 hour cinematic of all these scenes leading up to Joel's death would please a lot of players who are there to play a game. But because of that narrative choice, because the people making the game decided to do that rather than almost anything else, it alienated a lot of players and pissed off a lot of players. With the TV show, there is no interactive part of the media to worry about. There is no, we have to have a certain amount of gameplay versus a certain amount of cinematics. They can just tell the story. And in doing so, you don't have to worry about putting the scenes later. You can just put them in consecutive order. The next 2 comments are, "Good God, show Abby looks more like Game Ellie than show Ellie does. WTF, just how badly are they going to fuck this franchise up?" And then the other comment is, "TV Ellie does not look anything like video game Ellie. What are you talking about?" Which has then been replied to with, "That would be hard, considering she was made in a computer." All of these comments are on point. As much as they disagree with each other in some cases, they are all on point. Yeah, the characters, the actors playing the roles in the TV show are not going to look exactly like the characters in the games. Kind of like how a lot of the characters in Game of Thrones didn't look exactly how the books described them. They were as close as the shows could manage in a lot of cases. Like, no one was actually going to chop off Peter Dinklage's nose. I can't imagine they would put like a green screen nose on him for the rest of the series. And the same goes for The Last of Us. You're not going to get the chances of finding someone who looks exactly or incredibly similar to Joel and Ellie, who can then also play the parts. It's going to be tough. And then obviously they decided to go with name recognition as well. But the people they did choose played the parts pretty flipping well. With Bella Ramsey, who plays Ellie, I think they chose well, because based on what we've seen with the trailers, they've definitely whitened up Pedro Pascal's hair for the role. So they're definitely going for the time jump. With Bella Ramsey, she plays young Ellie very well. But then she can almost certainly play older Ellie very well. Especially considering, I was really shocked when I found this out. She's 21. I was like, really? But I think that's the I think that's her gift, in that she can look multiple ages. She is older, but she can look younger. So technically speaking, she can play the young and old version of the same character, which was quite a good catch on the showmaker's part, if we're being honest. But yeah, they're never going to look exactly like the people in the games, but they've done a pretty good job of finding people who look similar to the people in the games, and also actors who can carry off the roles. I think it's what was it, the voice actor for Joel. Well, a lot of the voice actors are in the game, and they don't look like the characters they voiced. But especially the actress for Ellie, she definitely doesn't look like Ellie. But for Joel, he could possibly have passed off the role as Joel's role. But when you look at him, he's very scrawny. He doesn't look like a rough and tough, I'm built for the post-apocalypse. He looks quite skinny. Could they have bulked him up? Maybe, if they got him down the gym and whatnot. But in the end, they decided to go with an actor who could already play the role. And also a very good actor. But all of this is all of these are talking points that are surrounding the original talking point, which was Abby's character in the game and the actress who's going to be playing her. Those two do not look similar at all. As the comment said, she looks more like Ellie than Abby. Now in the clips from the trailer, when you see her, they have dressed her up a lot like Abby. So they seem to be same with Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. What is this actress's name again? Caitlin Dever, that's her name. With Caitlin, they have definitely put the effort in to dress her up to make her look like Abby. But she clearly does not physically look like Abby, like at all. And again, maybe that's a deliberate choice. Maybe the people who made the game were like, we got a lot of pushback from people talking about how Abby doesn't look right for the game. Like, she stood out a lot compared to everybody else. Part of that, based on the reactions of... It was sort of like, it's the reactions to the reactions. Like, people pushing back and like, oh, they're denying her existence and all that sort of thing. And then the actual game creators... All of the controversy surrounding Abby, it almost seems like a tactic, you know? Kind of like with the flashbacks were there to justify the death of Joel. They weren't. They were there to set up the death of Joel, but they put them in the wrong order, so it looks like justifying rather than set up, and that pissed people off. But then you also get stuff like, oh look, Abby's playing with the dog. Oh look, it's the dog that you killed earlier. Isn't this fun? Don't you feel bad? And then the same later on where when you see the flashbacks of Ellie talking to Joel and Ellie's being mean to Joel. It's like, oh look at Ellie being mean to Joel who's just died. Don't you feel bad about Joel who died? And other stuff like that gets brought up, like Abby going to see all her friends who you've just killed as Ellie, but you're going to see all the friends and look all the life they had. Oh look, this one's pregnant. Yeah. Having Abby look the way she did, and then getting the reaction that she got from people, and then having the reactions to the reactions, and seeing all of that blowing up, felt like a deliberate choice. You know, a deliberate choice to, you know, piss everybody off and get attention and all that sort of thing. Garner negativity, get attention through negativity. But eventually, that is still negativity, and it eventually backwashes down the line. So to have the actress for Abby not look anything like Game Abby at all feels like a deliberate choice in the other direction. Like maybe they learned their lesson from that, and maybe don't piss off the people who are part of your fan base. That is especially going to be true for people who are fans of the TV show Season 1 who know nothing about the games. Because right now, the TV show is surprisingly realistic. Obviously, it's a post-apocalyptic with plant zombies, mushroom zombies, but at the same time, it feels very grounded. So to then suddenly having this muscle mummy turn up, like, hang on a minute, when did we get to Mad Max? I'd like to finish off by talking about the trailers for The Last of Us Season 2. We see a lot of scenes that we've seen from the game. They're literally one-to-one copies of them, which is not unexpected. We see a lot of that in Season 1. But we also see spores, which weren't in Season 1. It was quite notable that they were absent from a lot of scenes that they should have been in, and there was a new mechanic with the whole transmitting messages through the roots thing that they added for literally one episode and wasn't brought up again. So seeing the spores in the trailers seems a bit odd. But I think they need to introduce the spores for one specific scene which we see. You know, the one where Ellie confronts I can't remember who she is, just one of Abby's friends, and she ends up in the spores and she's like, oh my god, you're breathing spores. They had to introduce the spores for that scene, which worries me a little bit that Season 2 is forcing stuff into this world specifically so things from the game can happen. That's not a great sign. Conversely, we then also appear to have a a long night Game of Thrones battle scene with the zombies. And as much as that comparison doesn't exactly bode well, the inclusion of this battle I think is a good sign. Because, like I said before, with Joel, he decided not to go back to town because the blizzard and all the zombies, even though he was riding on a horse, and going back to town was probably the safest thing to do. It just added to the list of character choices which he shouldn't have made. But now, in this trailer, the town is being assaulted by an absolute fuck ton of zombies. So Joel, trying to go back to town, he'll probably see all that and go, yeah, probably not a great idea. Let's go somewhere else. So yeah, on the one hand, twisting the world to add things that will allow for stuff in the game to happen. On the other, putting things into the story which will then make stuff that happens in the story make more sense. In that regard, we then have Joel. And yes, I talked about Joel a lot, but specifically, the differences between Season 1 Joel and Part 1 Joel. There's a couple of notable scenes. The two that come to mind right now are when Ellie shoots the guy who is trying to kill Joel. In the game, Joel is just angry at her. He's like, oh, why did you do that for? Shouldn't have done that. And it takes a while before Joel sort of reluctantly admits, okay, yeah, I'm sure, here's how you use a gun. But in the show, Joel is immediately regretful that Ellie had to do that, and he blames himself for it, and immediately teaches Ellie how to use a gun properly. Those two scenes being notable for the differences in the Ellie's reactions. I mean, obviously Joel's reactions, but Ellie's specifically, because in the game she's too angry. She's just angry at Joel. So the fact that she's just shot someone is kind of pushed to the side. It's not really acknowledged properly. Whereas in the show, her having killed someone is focused on, and she clearly looks upset about it, which I think is an improvement personally. At the same time, it softens Joel. Rather than Game Joel being like this angry, hard nut kind of character, you now have a softer Joel who, yes, he's still the hard nut character, but at the same time has this side of him which is a lot more sympathetic. It's essentially what they did in the game, i.e. like Joel and Ellie rubbing off on each other to sort of influence each other's like personalities and the way they do things, but cranked up a bit. So you definitely see the softer side of Joel by the end of the season, and the harder side. The other scene I was thinking of was when they get to the camp outside of the hospital, and in the game Eddie is just asking Joel about like his experience in the camp, and talks about his daughter for a bit. Oh, and she gives him the photo of Joel and his daughter. With the TV show, they do some of that, But then they also have Joel admitting to Ellie that he tried to kill himself, and that him getting over the death of his daughter nearly 2 decades later was helped a lot by his experiences with Ellie. That, I think, is quite a significant change. All of this is to say, when we look at the trailers for Season 2, we also see Joel being a bit of a softie in some cases. He seems to be going to a psychologist to talk about the things that he's done. Potentially he might be... Maybe that's where all the flashbacks come in. Like, it's Joel talking about the things he's done with Ellie, and then he's going to admit to the psychologist that he saved her and potentially doomed mankind. Potentially. In massive quotations. And then we also see him playing with, I'm assuming, his nephew. I say playing, he's just pointing at a map and going, oh, what's over there? I'm assuming that's his nephew, like that's Tommy Jr. And all of this, I think, just like the inclusion of the zombies attacking the town to then make things make more sense, I think the showrunners had clearly thought they needed to set up Joel being a little bit softer personality-wise, so when Abby comes along, it makes more sense for him to do some of the stuff that he does, and hopefully not alienate the audience as much. Actually, saying that, there is one thing that I noticed in the trailers. Actually, no, it's 2 things. One is that there's a lot of stuff from later on in the game, like the burning of the village and like the slavers scenes and stuff like that. We don't really see anything about that happening. And I did see a comment someone made about it, the season being quite short. Like someone had seen it and was making a review video, or review of it, I should say. And they mentioned it was quite short. So maybe this is going to be like a Last of Us Season 2 Part 1. Which will be annoying for people who played the game, but should be fine for people watching the show, because I don't know about the fact that it should have ended sooner. That also gives me hope, weirdly, that Joel will be surviving for a lot longer than you think. Like maybe at least half the season, maybe just into episode 3, but then potentially, if they do make this like part 1, maybe to the end? And this was the other thing I was going to mention before. We've had no clips of stuff later in the game, which is odd because a lot of trailers nowadays show parts from films and TV shows from like basically the end, like in some cases the death of the villain. So it seems odd that they don't include that in the trailers for The Last of Us Part 2, including Joel's death scene. There's nothing. There's not even a hint of it, which I find really interesting. Like, you think they would put something out there. Even the teeniest, littlest hint of a golf club. Anything. To be like, hey guys, look, it's that scene. Aren't you excited? Aren't you dreading it? But there's nothing. Which makes me wonder, are they going to change it? I have ideas of my own, obviously. I think that the better way of doing it would be to have Joel go back to town, then he sees the zombies attacking town, he goes, oh no, we can't go there. Abby says, hey, why don't we go up the hill to my mates? And everybody who knows the game will be like, oh my god, no. Then Joel will say, no, I patrol this area, I know where there are safe places, we're going over here. And then it's just Joel, Tommy, and Abby together, and then somehow Abby gets the upper hand, knocks Tommy out with the golf club, and then proceeds to beat Joel to death. That would be a bit contrived, to say the least, but it could happen. And I think would be slightly better, because, oh, wouldn't it be great if Abby's friends turn up, she phones her friend, or phones, walkie-talkies her friends up, and they come to get her, and then that leads Ellie to them. Ellie turns up right behind her friends, and then there's this mass confusion as her friends are like dealing with the fact that Abby's just beating this guy to death, and then Ellie sees the fact that the guy's beaten to death and sees all the people in the room. That would actually be... that would like enhance the whole consequences of revenge storyline, in that the friends weren't there for Joel's death, they just turned up to try and stop Abby. But they happened to be there when Ellie turned up, so now she's like tagged them all, as it were. Damn it, why do I do this to myself? I come up with these stories and just like, this isn't going to happen. I'm just making myself sad for when it doesn't happen. But yeah, the fact we don't see the end of the game makes me think that we're not going to see the end of the game in this season. And the fact we don't see Joel's death at all, like even the slightest hint of it, makes me think it's either not going to... Well, it has to happen. That's the thing, it has to happen. Like the comment said, it's the integral, it's the linchpin of the story. It has to happen. So, what are they going to do? Why aren't they showing any of it? Are they that scared that people don't want any hint of it? It's really weird. The other alternative is that he's not actually going to die. Now that would be an interesting twist. But they have Abby beating the crap out of Joel. And then maybe Ellie comes in and she's interrupted. Well, that happens in the game, isn't it? That Joel's still alive when Abby's beating him down. But then Abby delivers the final blow to Joel. You know, oh my god. Imagine if Abby goes to deliver the final blow, then they're interrupted, or she's interrupted, or somebody stops her, and Joel is still alive, but just beaten to a pulp. And then the rest of the season, Joel is in hospital. Oh my god. I want that to happen now. So yeah. There's some very interesting things. Things that I'm worried about, things that I'm hopeful for, good signs, bad signs, and this whole question mark around Joel's death. We're only a day away, people. Well, for you, for Americans and whatnot, it's a day away. For me over here, it's like 2. Damn you. Can't wait to see how it goes.